Welcome to Church After Hours. This is episode 14. We have another great show planned for you guys. As you can see, it's a bunch of laughter, so this is going to be a good one. I'm just letting y'all know right now. But like me and my man Kurt always do around this time, we do a quick recap on our most previous episode, which was episode 13 with Mike and brother Troy. What did you think about that episode? That's the first one that the people didn't see you, brother.
Oh, man, I thought it was good to have Barry in the building. I think that the relationship between you, Barry, Troy, and Mike is more of a close-knit relationship because, you know, I was only there for a short period of time. So I think it was a great episode, man. It was an expression of men loving each other.
Yeah.
And, you know, we need more of that for sure.
Absolutely. And I think that was the consensus with everybody. My mom actually called me. She's like, that was good to see you guys open up with Troy, Mike, and then Barry talking about how still needing our elders to this day. Like that's very powerful. So a lot of people felt that episode. So we're not going to prolong y'all. We have a special guest in the building. We have my baby sister, Candace Morgan Hemmingway, in the building with us today. What's going on, sis? How you doing?
Hello, good people. Now, I want y'all to know I'm a seat filler. I was not originally on the map. I am a seat filler on today.
That is not true.
Yeah.
That is not true. She was scheduled to be in season 2, but you know what I mean? We had some issues, so we decided to scoot her up to this one. So she's technically not a seat filler. But in all seriousness, you've watched all the episodes. You've been a big supporter. We appreciate you for that, sharing it and you know, making sure you tell people about it. What has been your thoughts about the first 13 episodes?
You learn a lot of new stuff about each other, things that you thought you knew you didn't know. My favorite episode, I want to say, would be the one with Erica. Erica was my favorite thus far.
I'm not your first lady.
Right.
So that was my favorite, and I would say Chef Nikki would have been number 2 for me.
Very surprising right there. Why was Erica your favorite? What reason, since you brought it up? I was just wondering.
Because she hit on being in and being out, and a lot of the things that she enjoyed, the changes that took place in that time. For me, she felt was good changes, but for me, I felt like it's the demise of what we're going through now.
Well, we're gonna have to.
I've never agreed to disagree with, you know, but that's just a good way. That would have been a good dialogue for us to have.
Absolutely. So we definitely need to dig into that. And as everybody know, we already talking about the reunion. Your name has come up on several episodes, especially with Sister Granada and getting this reunion together. We have a special next episode coming up that you guys will hear about real soon. So let's just dig right in. And the first question we ask everybody, talk about your start in youth ministry in Lincoln Heights and how does that look for you? Because we've heard, again, especially Kurt, myself, and then our family, Jay, you know, mom and dad, when we moved to Ohio, talk about how it started and what it looked like from your perspective being a baby. And just before you start, I have on my Boston hat from my Uncle Butch. This was his favorite hat. I wear it to remind me how he used to annoy his younger sister, so I'm going to be annoying her tonight. So, Uncle Butch, your spirit lives on, but go ahead.
I was guilty by association. You were playing the drums. Jay really was just kind of hanging out with everybody else. So, because you had to go to rehearsal, I had to tag along. And that's how I kind of got into the fold.
Absolutely. So when you first got there, what did you think once you started participating and you started, you know, being involved with youth ministry and youth choir?
It was hard. People had already had their stations. They call it cliques. Back in the day, they already had those alliances formed. So you kind of had to make your own way to get in where you fit in. So I became, you know, that the one that everybody said was mean when I really wasn't. But I had to kind of set the tone that I wasn't a pushover either. I was a brat, all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, the church was big for me. Coming from a small church, I didn't have my cousin. I didn't have people that I had established to be my own crew. So you had to make your own. I wasn't biblically, I didn't have that knowledge that everybody else had, the teaching. So it was all new for me.
I was just listening to some of the things she was saying and talking about crews and people's cliques and all that. And Candace was, you know, younger. And you know, when you are younger, the age gap seems bigger.
Right.
But I will say, not to further along or speed along the conversation, but she did end up having her own clique.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what I was gonna say. And I'm glad you said that, because that's why I love this podcast. And Kurt keeps bringing it up every so often, even on camera and off camera when we talk. He's just like, man, it's dope, because we get to learn so much stuff that we didn't really see or pay attention to back then. Like, I didn't really think about that. Like, Jay was with me, so he obviously was linked in with me and Barry and everything. And then you being a girl and being 4 years younger, which is not a big gap, but when I'm in high school and you in middle school, that gap seems bigger. I never really thought about it from that aspect. And like Kurt said, you did end up having your own clique, your own crew. And talk about that, how you became outgoing and how you ended up, becoming a youth leader, especially after we left and went to college.
For me, it was Tanya, Miss Renee. They were my black girl magic.
Yes. Love
That's
them.
nothing new for me. Everybody says it now. I've been there, seen it. That's old. I loved how they served us. They didn't want anything in return. They didn't ask for anything. If we needed help, they gave us help. So for me, I learned by them just serving up under us. I mean, you would leave me for rehearsal, knowing good well I wanted to go. And you made sure you would pack the car up with everybody else, and then I couldn't go. Miss Tanya, I would call her at Fort Hamilton Hospital. Be like, I wanted to go, and they left me. She would roll up in her Dodge Omni and pick me up every time. She was always there. So having people like that helped me to become the servant that I am today.
Wow. I didn't know that. I didn't know you used to leave your sister. Do you wrong for that?
You would pack that car up. You sure would.
I didn't want you to be the only girl with all those guys. You know what I'm saying? I knew Miss Tanya and Miss Renee was going to look out for you. You know what I'm saying? But I want to go back to something you said earlier. I think that's important. Everybody know in our family, when we were younger, me and my brother didn't have the best relationship, because everybody called me old. I was always old acting, and my brother used to like to play a lot, but we didn't really get close until we moved to Ohio. So I just thought about something else that you talked about, how you didn't have Nikki, and everybody know how you and Nikki are only a year apart, and y'all did everything together growing up in Chicago. And then our older sister didn't come with us. So you was kind of like by yourself. And talk about how that changed when Nikki made the transition, when I went to Wright State and then she moved to Cincinnati.
Well, that was still another transition, which was different, because then Nikki is not so outgoing. She's really reserved. She's going to get to know you before she opens up. So a lot of the people that I had created friendships with, they was taken to her quickly. I was like, oh, now that ain't gonna happen. You can't come in on my crew. I'm the top dog. So I made it hard for her. I made it very hard for Nikki. And she'll tell you to this day, I would get her at church and be like, you got my clothes on, and just try to blast her and belittle her. But in reality, I was just making it hard for her. But I really loved her. She knew it wasn't, now that we're grown, she knew it was all in love. You all right?
Yeah, I'm sitting outside. I had to, I gotta bob and weave a little bit. That's all.
I got you.
Go ahead, Kurt. Look like you was about ready to say something.
Oh man, since we're talking about putting things on blast, like, let's just be all the way honest. You made it hard for a lot of people, Candace. I don't know why you talk about just Nikki.
Right. No, I made it hard for you.
No, I'm just it wasn't necessarily making it hard for me, but when you say putting people on blast, like,
that's what she do.
That was you
still like it piggybacks to when you have your own, and people don't understand that when you have your own insecurities, you're gonna always make light of somebody else. That's just what people did, and now they call it trauma. I'd be like, ain't nobody got no trauma. Now they have.
I didn't look at it like I didn't.
Now they have it, but that's what it was. That's what it was. I was always a little fat girl. Barry would call me a bear cub, but so it's kind of like I had to had to harden myself up so that I wouldn't let it affect me emotionally.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you know what? That's what we talked about when we were on here for Father's Day. That's the same things we did with the fellas. We played dozens.
Yeah.
So, Candace fell right in line. And you know what? Good thing, because these days, what you're talking about, that's the norm. You know what I mean? Like, these people these days are going way further than we ever joked.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, and we also knew when one had too much. Like, okay, enough isn't. But now they don't stop.
And that's my
Your
point.
material's not good.
I'm making.
You're gonna get doused.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now talk about this. Now you talked about Miss Tanya, Miss Renee. Talk about the impact. I want you to go a little bit deeper, the impact that they had, because I know we had the Mikes and the Troys, and you and Nikki and Kendall and Chanda, y'all generation, y'all had more access to the Miss Renees and the Miss Tanyas of the world. Talk about their impact, because you talked about a little bit how you serve now. Talk about more about that and go a little bit more in depth if you can.
I would say for me, again, that was still the time where what happens in our house stays in our house type of mindset all the adults had. So for me, I was exposed to cancer at an early age when Miss Renee had her battle, and she was honest with us. She was open. She didn't leave nothing. She left everything on the table. And so that was my first, like, that's her personal business. Why is she telling that? But in her reality, we have to talk about these things.
Right.
So for me, I learned how to be open. Because, mom taught us, what happens in our house, stay in our house. So I just never talked about it. So once I got older, having that courage from her gave me the courage when I started battling infertility to have a voice, because in the Black culture, you don't talk about your issues having a baby, so it opened the door for me to not only be honest, but to be honest with people that might need that help later. So it's kind of like your test with a testimony. So now you have to go and share that to others.
That's powerful. And you learn that from them, and you learn that in an environment where they made it comfortable to talk about those type of issues. I think that's very, very important. Man, that's powerful. I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, and another thing, that's also being humble. Being humble enough to share and showing humility,
Right.
And I think that's something I've always tried to be. And with that, it makes you a target a lot of times because people try to take that kindness for a weakness. But don't ever, to anybody listening to this, don't ever stop being humble because somebody take that wrong. Because for what you are showing people, somebody else can learn something, and that's truly the blessing of God right there.
Right.
That's strong, Kurt. And I know me and you both have a love and an affinity for our now ancestor, Baba Dick Gregory. And he always talked about being humble and exercising your humility at all times. And I love when he told the story about Bob Marley, how he first met him and he said, I love you. I think you're a good brother. He said, but I think you need to right or wrong. I didn't like that song, The Buffalo Soldiers. And when he broke it down to him, who the Buffalo Soldiers was, and Bob Marley started crying, and he told Dick Gregory, I'll never sing that song again. Like, he didn't know the in-depth story about who those brothers was and how they was used in a bigger game. So he always talked about being humble and exercising humility at all times. So that's very important. So I'm going to go to a Sinners and Saints stories to break it up, because we've been going in. It's a real serious episode, and I love it right now. So I'm going to try to break up the speed and add some little humor here.
It's now time for Sinners and Saints.
This person that's going to get thrown under the bus is none other than my own mother. And she's a faithful viewer of the show. She shares it with her girlfriends, book club members, folks at church. Y'all don't look at my mother any different after I tell the story. But it's all love, and it was done in love. So anybody that know...
Hey, please don't look at my brother D any different, because they're going to blow your head. Go ahead, brother.
But this is how things was back in the day, though. But I got to tell this story because I got to throw my sister under the bus, too. Anybody that know my sister knows she got a fly mouth. You know what I'm saying? Always have, always will. You know what I'm saying? And her and my mother never really bumped heads too much growing up. But when they did, 9 times out of 10, there was something smart that my sister said to my mom. Now, anybody know my mom? She's an easygoing. Shout out to my mom. It was her birthday just yesterday. It'll be Sunday when y'all see this. But my mom is easygoing. She don't really want no smoke. You know what I'm saying? I think my mom really never put her hands on. She put her hands on me once, maybe a few times my brother. But this one particular time, she put her hands, elbows, knees, and everything on my sister. So anybody that's ever been to our old house, my parents just moved. I posted it online. when you go upstairs, Candace had the first room, and then you go back. Jay's room was next to hers, and then I was off to the back. So I hear my mom and sister in there going. Candace said something smart, and my mom just started going in. She was like Roy Jones on my sister. So I hear it get loud and furniture moving.
Forgot.
I run in there. I say, Mom, stop! You gonna kill my sister? She had her pent up, and Candace was just crying, and I was just like that's the first time I ever seen my mom get that animated or that mad about anything in life. Like, Candace, like, what did you say to Mom? I know you remember the story, but what caused her to just go out of character? Because she never act like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just thought that Mom has always been this Christian, God-fearing woman, and now she was just like a thug on the streets beating the brakes off of you. What did you do to her?
It was a snowstorm. Fairfield had let out early. And you remember Tico's sister?
Yeah. Shout out.
Left early. So I'm like, I'm gonna get off at your bus stop. You didn't have to have a pass back then. I got off at Tamiko's bus stop. I'm hanging out at her house. Again, no cell phone, right? So the blizzard's coming and it's getting bigger. So now I'm gonna walk home because she lived on, I want to say Jupiter.
Yeah, over there by Randy and David Wilkes.
Right.
And Kurt.
Her and Kurt. So I walked home. And by this time, oh man, it had to be about 7:00. It was late. It was dark. I walk home. I get home. And I come in the house like, I've been at work. Like, hey. So she had left the shop. They're looking for me. Everybody's looking for me and couldn't find me. And I think I said something smart. And between the wall and my bed, I got pinched. And she just started, punching just left and right. Like, you ain't gonna be no streetwalker in my house. And I'm like, what is that? You know, she was just, in her mind, she didn't know where I was. There could have been anything going on. She just lost it. And love. She lost it in love. Because she was happy I was home and okay. But yet, the fear had set in already. So.
Right. And it's funny because I remember back growing up in Chicago when pagers first came out, we always wanted pagers. And they was like, nah, drug dealers use pagers. But as you got older, they was like, you know what? A pager is not so bad. I can track my kids. So had you had a pager, you probably wouldn't have got the brakes beat off you that day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, rollers left after that whooping.
Absolutely. So let's get back. Go ahead, Kurt.
Hold on. Stop the presses. if that is a saint and sinner story, and I got one myself.
All right, let's go.
And I'm gonna tell you, like, this is when I started knowing, you know, how real your pops was. One time I happened to be over on Reason.
Ooh, I remember
at your parents' old crib. And, you know, in the house I lived in, my mom probably would have sent, you know, me downstairs and asked my friends to leave. But your pops ain't do that. I don't know what Candace had did.
I remember this story.
But hey, she got one of them whoopings that you was just talking about with your mama.
One of those ones.
It wasn't as physical, but I'm sure it was just a belt. But I remember Candace being like, Dad! I remember we could hear her from downstairs. Hey, I never forget that, man. I'll never forget that.
It was,
as much as me and my brothers argue, we never liked to see each other get in trouble.
Right.
Never. So yeah, my dad, he didn't care who was there. You show out in Biggs, you was gonna get tapped in Biggs.
That's right.
Biggs. I ain't heard that in a while. Biggs. That was the spot, the grocery store.
Yeah, Biggs.
Wow.
Yeah, for sure.
But no, anytime my sister got in trouble, 9 out of 10 it was her mouth. Because she was a good person, but her mouth was always just, that her downfall. So let's dig back into the episode. Talk about where you are in life and the things that you're doing in life now and how youth ministry in Lincoln Heights and choir and those relationships kind of help make you to the person you are and how it's being beneficial to the work you're doing now.
You're saying now. Yeah. I am on a journey of understanding the lack of ministry. And this is what piggybacks to the whole thing, what Erica said about come as you are. I think once that punchline became a part of the church, we lost substance. Meaning discipline went out the door. structure went out the door. And that old scripture saying, you know, put away worldly things. Well, we brought it in, and that's where it entered. And so now you don't have those ministries anymore, because now you're meeting everybody where they are. You're accepting everything when we're taught to be set apart. So for me right now, ministry, I'm trying to find it. Because what I was taught and what I was raised upon is no longer, it's no longer available. You know, it's now Amazon church, and I'm not used to that at all. So it has been hard for me.
I call it Starbucks. I'm not gonna lie, like, you know what I mean? Like a lot of these churches, and I'm not gonna name churches and throw nobody under the bus, but I just feel like it's like a TED Talk. You know what I'm saying? Like you get your Danish, you get your bagel, you get your juice, coffee or whatever, and it's a TED Talk. You in and out. I don't feel like the work is being done. And I agree with you on this. I feel like that, you know, a lot of people are just disinterested right now. You know what I'm saying? And it's not the same. Not saying that you need to stay the same, because I'm always about evolving and you know, and growing and being bigger and better. But I just feel like it's like at a major standstill.
And it's not a church's fault in particular, not even my church. It's no one's fault. No one has the heart to serve anymore. You know, we are all about the letters behind our name. We're all about which college we're going to. No pun to anyone that's going. But yet we don't want to show children the process. We don't want to show them, when you do get into a tough spot in college, this is how you fall on your face and pray. Because I know for me, that's what I would do at that young age. You know, when we had Fred Staples, we used to go to the light. Block out the world, get that light out, because this is where you are. Because when mama's gone, daddy's gone, your youth crew is gone, all you got is the light. So a lot of churches don't have youth departments. You got singles ministry. They capitalize on that. You know,
talk about it.
You have men's ministry, you have women's ministry, you know, all these different clubs. And then you have a children's choir that's got 4 kids. So how do I sell church to my children when no one's giving them a reason to want to be there at all? So it has been hard for me. And I know everybody will be shocked to hear that, like, what? That's all you do is church? And that's always going to be me. But trying to get that discipline back, I don't even know if I will see it on this side of heaven.
No, I want to dig into something deeper, because I think you pressed on a major issue and a big time point that I think most people may not have been paying attention to. So, and it's not just local churches, it's major churches. Like, I don't feel like it's an emphasis on youth. So therefore, you know, that's why I love doing the work that I do. Like I can touch children and affect their lives where they are every day. And I just feel like, you know, the church as a whole, you know what I mean, is doing a bad job of catering messaging towards the youth. Because you think about it, we are here laughing and joking, talking about how we would make videos in the summer with Kurt and Barry's cameras and do all that kind of stuff, which is like a precursor to what Instagram is now. But you look at all the distractions and all the things that these kids have to grab their attention, church is going to be the furthest thing away from their mind, because no messaging or nothing is being geared to basically try to bring them in. So I think you're absolutely correct. And I think the Black church in particular, because that's my main concern, I think they have to do a better job, and they need to do a better job sooner than later, because it's just a major void. You know what I'm saying? That we didn't experience.
Well, because we are the generation of come as you are. So again, that structure of how to raise your children, what is important. My kids don't have social media, you know, but every other kid they come in contact does. You know, my parents, I don't care what they do in Jesse's house. This is my house. That's the conversations that we have. And so in my opinion, when you say come as you are, you just took the cap right off the bottle and just let it explode.
And let's discuss that now. The Bible scholars could come at me all day. That scripture was misquoted and misused. That scripture was not about clothing and attire. That scripture is basically saying, come as you are, no matter what conditions you are in life, God is going to accept you and bring you in. We turned that into being about fashion and clothing and all these different types of things. So just to justify us wanting to wear and do certain things. So that scripture.
But not
was
only
definitely
come as you
misused.
are in clothing, the church was not ready for the come as you are on the inside. And then you talk about, you know, what my preference is, you know, what my pride is. That's what it was. And we were not prepared as a church to even accept that. But yet you can accept this. So I just think you took the cap off of something and let it explode. And the church wasn't even ready for it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Kurt, I'm gonna go to you. Then we go get into our crew front stories and wrap this one up. It's been a good one.
I totally agree that everybody knows has been an erosion of church, and specifically the Black church. Personally, I think that, you know, the Black church may have held on to too many traditions that don't really serve anybody but themselves when it comes to, you know, a lot of the things we grew up saying. You know, say for instance, Reverend Pipus, when he made the jump from Lincoln Heights Missionary Baptist Church and moved into, you know, the 21st century, a lot of churches didn't do this. A lot of churches didn't make everything all inclusive, you know, where everybody can come. And with that happening, those Starbucks and Amazon churches scoop those people up. Because not too many people wanted to see that that same, you know, is as an act as we know, you know, that was going on. So I think there needs to be
like a revival.
There we go. We used to have revivals, and how I picture that is Kanye West's Sunday services is outside, you know. Speaking on that, Reverend Pipers, his sanctuary looks like the outdoors. Outside. Yeah, and it's just it's not a lot of people doing that. It's still the same, you know, red, purple, you know, maroon, those same colors, you know, the same pews. A lot of these people still got white Jesus up.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's just, to me, totally unacceptable. Absolutely. You know, it was totally unacceptable then, and with all the information that people got, that just drives people away from it because, you know, it just seems inauthentic.
It is. It very much is. And I agree with you, Kurt, 100%. Like, right now, where we are, man, like, I feel like it can come out of it, but a lot of change has to take place. And like Candace said, I think the focus needs to change. Because, like my pastors growing up, my godfather, Reverend Charles Sherry, said, if you go into a church with no children, no youth, it's a dying vessel. And if you're not pouring into the youth that you have there, then that thing is about to die out. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna die out, and it's not gonna be productive long term. So we have to really take those things into consideration and just try to, you know, make sure we give advice and we give those words to those institutions to try to change some of these things.
Right.
So we have made it to the end. This is the fun part where everybody gets to tell a crew story. I feel like my story was good enough, even though it was the Sinners and Saints for my mom. But Candace, I'm gonna go to you, and then Kurt, if you got a crew fun story, let's go.
Let me see. So again, I was always the tag along by default. This year, I was old enough. Miss Juanita had grandfathered me in to where I could go to Amsterdam.
Ooh.
And I was so excited. We had a charter bus. We was ready. Get on the bus.
Hold on. Was this a year that I didn't go?
You and Nikki,
the year that you and Nikki
you were there.
No, Kurt was there. Okay. This was your last one. Okay.
I never made it to Sudan.
You didn't go to Camp Joy?
I Camp Joy. I mean,
you went to
Sudan.
Okay, my bad. I'm sorry.
And we driving for a good 4 hours or so. So we pull over off the road. We go to Wendy's. So we get off, all these kids getting off this big old charter bus. So of course, Miss Juanita is gonna always keep the younger kids close knit. Right. So we're staying there. So she had all of us go to the bathroom. We come out. So here I come out. And I told the guy that works there, I said, sir, you all don't have any more paper towel in the bathroom. And he said, I'm trying to feed all y'all. You know, he just started going ham. Mike said, who in the F you think you talking to? I mean, Mike just goes off. Mike Young goes off.
Hey,
like
that's my dude, Mike Young.
She is a child. You will not talk to her in that manner. She's trying to help your institution. I mean, he just went off. Cuss word after cuss word. And so we're just standing there. By this time, all of us is out the bathroom. And this man is just standing there looking like, I am so sorry. He said, you're going to apologize to her right now. So then he gets back to working like he's ignoring Mike. And Mike, I don't know what he slammed on that counter, but dude turned around and apologized.
Wow.
And all I could remember hearing was Miss Juanita. She was like, oh no, Michael. no, Michael,
That's what she said.
Do that. These are children. Michael, please. And she trying to calm Michael down. Michael ain't hearing nothing. He is like, we do not do this. I had a feeling I got off this bus with all of these, and he kept going and white this. And so Michael's just so in his feelings because for him, he loves all of us at his own. And if you came at us wrong and we were in the wrong, he was gonna check you.
Right.
So some of the youth leaders was driving behind the bus, and he was one of them. So he got on the bus, and Miss Juanita was out there talking to him again, like, I understand your heart, Michael, but that was not the way to do it. So he get on the bus. He get on the bus, and we all sit there because we all looking at the bus, and this bus had no air. The air had went out and everything. So we had the bottles open. We had water bottles in there open so we could hear what they're talking about. He gets on the bus and apologized to us. And, so we was like, it's okay, Mr. Mike. He gets off the bus. Jay and Marcus
already knew.
Man, Mr. Mike, that nigga. I don't care what y'all say. I wouldn't have apologized. You're right. We all laugh, but that lets me know back then, Mr. Mike always made sure Black male was going to represent us, whether our dads was there, anybody, he was going to make sure we were respected. So that was my all-time favorite story.
Hey, that's classic. And that's Mr. Mike, though. Like, you need somebody like that on your team. Like, he wasn't gonna go for no disrespect. Now, if we acted up, he was gonna check us too. But that's dope. I love Mr. Mike, man. That is my guy. Like, when I talk to young dudes now, I still give guys advice that Mr. Mike gave me right before I got married with saving money and doing certain things. Like he is such a pillar in our community, and I appreciate Mr. Mike Young so much. So that's a classic story, man. What you got for us, Kurt?
Hey man, I don't necessarily have a fun story, but I do want to say that myself and Candace have the same sense of humor.
Yes.
So a lot of times when we see each other, it's just eye contact. We bust out laughing. I can't even talk about some of the stuff that we laugh at because even for church after hours, it'll probably be inappropriate for some of these people that we laugh at. You know what I'm saying? But
like that video you posted the other day.
Which one?
That man on stage dancing.
Oh yeah.
I knew Kurt did not enjoy that performance. He was clowning that poor man.
Oh man. Hey.
But this has always been them. It just happened at Gigi's graduation party. Anytime we get together in a big setting, my sister and Kurt is always just in their own world laughing at everybody, and we don't know what they laughing or talking about. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, just head shakes. So
exactly.
Also, I want to go back to something I said on a previous episode about when Candace babysat my younger brother and a girl with special needs. And I still, to this day, I'm so proud of the things she did because, that girl had some serious health issues going on. And she was a young woman, you know what I mean? And I think I remember the first time when I came home and she was there. And I'm like, what you doing here? And she looked at me and said, yeah, I'm here to babysit you. Your mama, she said she took it. She made it. She was babysitting me,
Right,
what I mean?
right.
But and ever since then, we kind of formed our own relationship outside of D and J, which was my boys. So
that's dope.
She became my sister as well. So
that's dope. I
liked you a little bit more than I did Dwayne, but I still like Dwayne more.
Shout out to the homie Dwayne down in North Carolina. That's my guy.
But thank you to your mom who entrusted. I was 11.
Yeah.
11.
Wow.
And this baby, not only did she have a feeding tube, she had a G tube and she had a colostomy bag.
Yeah.
And so literally Miss Vicky gave me a 20-minute session and I had it down. I mean, it was just as simple as that. And you knew this bag got to a certain level, it could filter back into her body and it could potentially kill her. And that's all I need to know. But you think back on that, it's like you got this 11-year-old out here handling this. But I did it. Thank God Austin was a great, cool baby. But so thank you to Miss Vicky for trusting me enough to do that.
And shout out to Miss Vicky and the parents of that generation. Like, they showed us and entrusted us to do things, and we just did it. I think a lot of times parents hold kids back, like, don't let them see that already. Like, no, they need to know. Like, you know what I'm saying? Show them what to do, give them the information, and they gonna be all right. Like, a lot of times we be scared to push our children to do things that maybe we think they shouldn't be doing. Like, no, they can do it. So shout out to Miss Vicky and all those parents that entrusted their kids to do certain things like that. Well, we've reached the home stretch. Anything in closing you want to say, Candace, before we shut it down? We appreciate you, and I think this was a great episode thus far.
Absolutely.
Stay focused. If this is you all's way of going to church, you're doing what you're doing. You're doing what you're doing. Just maybe start opening up with scripture, a little prayer. But y'all doing a good job.
She said, "This is our way of going to church." My sister is. That's hilarious. That might be the funniest thing this season right there. Oh my God.
Really, Kurt?
Oh.
What? Go ahead. What?
I'm just saying, you have been every week. If it was an offering, you have done a great job. I'm proud of you.
Well, thank you.
Well,
man.
hold on. In what way?
You've been coming to church every week, after hours. This is y'all way of doing church. Y'all attendance is stellar.
Yeah, you're right. I haven't. No, I missed last week, but you're right.
That was an excused absence though, so you really didn't miss. You know what I'm saying? You let pastor know you wasn't coming beforehand.
Oh, who is the pastor?
The ministry. We don't have a pastor. The ministry is the pastor. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So y'all like Christ loved the church. Y'all the body.
Exactly. There you go.
Okay.
All right, y'all. Well, this has been episode 14 of Church After Hours. We appreciate y'all for checking us out. We only have one episode left. You'll see who that guest is the next time you hear tune in with us. Peace and blessings, y'all. We appreciate y'all. Great episode.
Church After Hours.